Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to my channel, Everlynn's Books and Tea. Today we are going to be doing our October Reading Challenge game, and I am super excited about this one. I really enjoyed doing the Gilmore Girls Reading Challenge game last month, and I think a lot of you guys did as well. So I created a new game for October that kind of fits the Halloween vibes that the month brings, and I cannot wait to play this and see what books we get to read. The weather is finally turning more fallish. We're more in the 50s and 60s than we are in the 70s and 80s, which is great. And the temperatures here are dropping pretty low at night, down to like the 40s and upper 30s. It's the perfect weather to read the categories I have on this game board. So let me first show you the game board. So I am calling this game Tales of Twilight. Thanks to ChatGPT for giving me an idea for the game because I was stuck on that for a while. I created this board. We got our pumpkin, ghost, and witch to kind of give us the vibes for the categories we'll be reading for this game, sort of. So this is a game board we're going to play. These little spots here are where the different tokens are going to go, and we have to get from start to finish. So typical, game, kind of like I did for the Gilmore Girls. So here are the categories for our Tales of Twilight game. First category we have is horror and scary books. So this category is going to obviously encompass our horror books. I don't read a lot of horror, so it took me a while to come up for options for this category, but I'm excited to see if we land on this, what book we are going to end up reading. Next up, we have our Halloween books category, at least I'm calling it that. These are more of our cozy Halloween-ish vibes. They don't directly have to do with Halloween, but are books that are either set around Halloween or have like a cozy witch, cozy magic, those types. So it's going to be our nice, happy books rather than our scary horror books. So those two categories are kind of opposite of each other. So these are more cozy vibes. And then our last book category is dark academia books. This one's kind of self-explanatory, there we go, and basically will encompass all different types of dark academia books. So I'm excited about this category. I love dark academia, so I'm really hoping we get to land on it during this game. I will be very sad if our game doesn't allow us to read any books from this category. So here's hoping for dark academia. So this is where things get a little confusing. I've made this game very convoluted because why not? Why not make it harder for myself? Basically, what's going to happen is if we land on any of these book category tokens, we are going to pick up the corresponding jar, which is horror and scary books are the orange jar. We have our Happy Halloween as our cozy Halloween jar. And then our trick-or-treat jar, because it's black, is going to be our dark academia jar. So in this jar are about 31 book covers that I've folded up. And if we land, let's say we land on our horror category, we are going to choose 7 books out of here. You can see they're all folded up. And put them on our game board. And then we are going to roll a dice and sort them by a category. It could be by title, by first name, by author's last name. And then we'll roll a dice again, and whatever number that is will correspond to that book that we have ordered. I've told you, this is so convoluted, but hopefully you'll get it once we actually start playing it. So that's what happens when we land on the book categories. We also have this free space category, which is not truly free space, because we may have to read a book on it, but we have 4 options. Again, we'll roll a dice and see what option we'll take. We have the option of choosing, I think it's 1 book from each jar, and then getting to choose which book we read. We have an option of going forward 1 space or going back 1 space. And then there's another book option where we have a potential of skipping a book. The other thing I forgot to mention is when we roll to see how we are going to sort the books when we land on the book category, if we get an 8, that means we get to skip that category entirely and roll again. So we'll see if that happens at all. It will definitely help us cut down on books. So you can see, like I said, I've made this game very convoluted and I hope it becomes more understandable as I play it. So I think that's all we have for now. It's time to get to our first roll to see what our first book is. But first, let's bring up the game board because we have to put our tokens on it, and we're going to do that in a random order like usual. So let's do that now and see how our tokens line up. Here is our game board. I think this looks pretty good. We do have 2 free spaces pretty close together. Other than that, though, I think the categories are pretty well scattered throughout. All that's left now is to do our first roll. All right, we'll be using our pumpkin marker for this game, and let's grab our 8-sided dice and see what our first roll gives us. A 1. We are starting off, well, once again, with a low number. But that's okay. It's our first roll. We have 3 weeks to complete this game, so plenty of time, despite our 16-book TBR. We're going to be fine. All right, so we landed on horror and scary books, of course, the one I wanted least to start. All right, so here is our jar with our horror and scary books in it. So we are going to take out 7 books from here, and those will be the options for this roll. So we're just going to pull them out first, and then we'll open them. There's 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, now we will see what books we may read for our first book for the game. All right, we have the Amityville Horror, The Ruins. I have no idea what half these books are. The Push, Horror Store, White is the Witchling, Witching, not Witchling. Within These Walls. And last but not least is The Last Days of Jack Sparks. All right, so those are the 4 options that one of these we'll be reading this month. So what we are going to do next is roll our 8-sided die. That's going to tell us how we are going to sort these books for our final roll, which will choose which book we are going to read. All right, so we have a 6. All right, with a 6, we are going to sort these by rainbow color. So we're going to do the normal rainbow, Roy B. Jiv, and then we will do white and then black. So let me sort these real quick, and I'll be right back. All right, so these are the books sorted. We have yellow, a light blue, darker blue, so that's why I put them in that order. Our 2 white, this is a little bit closer to black, it's more of a gray, hence why it comes after Horror Store. And then the 2 black ones are very similar, so I just went in alphabetical order. So there we have it. Those are our 7 books. Now we are going to roll the dice again, and whatever number it lands on is the book we are going to read. So here we go. All right, oops. We are reading book 1, which is Within These Walls by Anaya Allborn. That will be our first book on this TBR. Not TBR, the first book for this game. All right, so that was our first roll of the game. It's now actually a couple of days later because this is the first time I had a chance to sit down and talk to you about that first roll. But we landed on horror, and the book the game chose for us is Within These Walls. Within These Walls tells the story of Lucas, who is a true crime author who used to be kind of a bestseller, has fallen on hard times. So one day he gets this letter in the mail, which happens to come from a man named Jeffrey Holcomb, who is in jail, I believe it's in Washington State, for the killing of, for the suspected murder of people in his cult. And now Jeffrey's in jail and he has refused to tell his story to anyone until he reached out to Lucas. So Lucas, having nothing better to do at this point, ends up going to Washington. He brings his daughter, 12-year-old daughter, along with him. And one of the stipulations that Jeffrey Holcomb gave Lucas is that he has to stay in the house where the cult members ended up being murdered. And thus begins the tale of horror. So that is the first book that we'll be reading on this reading game. I'm excited to see how this goes. It's kind of like a true crime, Criminal Minds / horror book. And I do love Criminal Minds, so hopefully I will enjoy this one. We will find out. I will check back in with you when I'm about halfway through the book and let you know my feelings on it. So I'll see you guys soon. So it's been about 2 weeks since I chose the first book for this game Within These Walls. I kind of took a break in the beginning of October to focus on my October TBR. You know, the 16-book TBR that I'm supposed to complete in the next 2 weeks. But starting today, I have a 3-day weekend. So I am going to be focusing on getting through this October reading challenge game for the next 3 days. And I'm excited about it because we're nearing the end of October. So it's really the perfect time to read these books. So the first book this game chose for me was Within These Walls, and I've actually really been enjoying it, which I wasn't sure I was going to because it falls under the horror category, and that's a category I don't read a lot of books from, so I wasn't really sure how it was going to go. This book thankfully kind of falls on the thriller horror side, and I think that's why I've been enjoying it so much, because I definitely enjoy the thrillers, mysteries, things like that. And this book definitely has aspects of that genre in it. So this book focuses on a crime that took place back in 1982 involving a cult, and all the members ended up killing themselves. And the cult leader ended up in jail. And the cult leader has never really explained why this happened, how it happened. He's really not talked about his part in this at all. And one day, now in the present day, a crime writer named Lucas, who is kind of a washed up crime reader, he hasn't really sold any books recently, gets this letter from the cult leader Jeffrey, who has requested his presence at the high security prison he is at, with the promise that he is going to tell Lucas the story of this crime and allow Lucas to publish his side of it. And Lucas ends up taking this because he has nothing else really going on in his life. His wife has just left him. He has no forthcoming books, no money coming in really. And he ends up moving cross country with his daughter, 12-year-old daughter, Valerie. And part of the deal that he has made with the cult leader is to move into the house where this has occurred. So him and his daughter end up moving into this house, and they both start seeing things that happened in the past and are seeing ghosts and visions and all these other kinds of things because the house seems to be haunted. So that is kind of the basis of the book. And like I said, I've really been enjoying it. So this book is actually told from several viewpoints. In the present day, it's told from Lucas and his daughter's viewpoint and their experiences living in this house. And then there are chapters that go back into the 1980s when all this stuff occurred. And those books are told from the viewpoint of Andra Snow, who is the daughter of a politician and got involved in the cult. So you're kind of seeing her involvement from the beginning with this cult and how she ended up joining it. And then in between all the different chapters, there are these like newspaper articles and interviews that kind of give you a sneak peek in what happened back in 1982. So like I said, I've definitely been enjoying the book. The writing is keeping me engaged, and I'm looking forward to each chapter to see what the author kind of releases about the plot and the mystery surrounding this house. and I can't wait to get to the ending to see what actually happened. So the characters are also engaging. I'm enjoying reading from their viewpoints as the story unfolds and kind of seeing their thoughts as these things are happening to them, both in the past and the present. So I think that's all I got for right now. The book is definitely around a 4 to 4.5 at the moment. We'll see what the ending is, because I feel like in these types of books, the ending can really make the story or break the story. So I'm going to hold off on my full star review until I reach that ending, which hopefully will be today, so we can get to that second roll on this game. Because the first roll, I only rolled a 1. So we have a ways to go to get around this board, and only really 3 days to complete it in. So I will see you back probably when I finish the book, because I don't think I'm going to have much to say in between now and then. And hopefully I will be back here giving a good review for the ending, but we shall see. I'll see you guys in a little bit. So I'm back. It's been probably about 3 or 4 hours since I last talked to you, and I have completed Within These Walls by Anaya Alborn. Overall, I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5. The last 1/3 before you got right to the end of the book for me just kind of dragged on, and I was finding myself having difficulty staying engaged with the plot. And I think it just felt a little bit dragged out. The book is over 450 pages, so it's not surprising. I think it definitely could have been condensed a little bit at the end. The plot itself was definitely unique. It was also definitely very disturbing at the end. I wouldn't say it was scary so much as disturbing and creepy. I would say more so than scary. It's definitely a fictionalized true crime paranormal horror book. And I would 100% say you should probably read the trigger warnings before you read this book, because of what happens at the end of the book. So that's really all I have to say about it. There's not much else I can say without ruining what happens at the end of the book. But 4 out of 5 stars, and I am now ready to move on to a different type of book. I'm very much hoping we do not land on another horror book, because I need a new vibe in the book. Something not creepy or disturbing. Maybe like a happy book, a cozy book, even a dark academia book I will take at this point. So let's go ahead and bring up the game board and see what we get for our second roll. Book 1 down. It's time for our second roll of the game. I'm hoping that we get either the cozy Halloween books or the dark academia books. I need a little bit of a break from horror after reading the last one, so I'm hoping we get one of those. So that means we need to not roll a 4 or an 8. Any other number will work fine. Well, free space could be hit or miss, but I'm willing to give free space a shot, because it can also mean I skip a turn. So let's go ahead and see what we get for our second roll. All right, a 7. Perfect. Nice big number, not landing on horror. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so we got our cozy Halloween books, which I'm so excited about. These should be more lighthearted, hopefully. I'm not exactly sure what I put in the jar. It's been a while since I made it, but hopefully we will get some good books out of this jar. So our cozy Halloween books are in this jar here. Let's say Happy Halloween. That makes sense. So we are going to go ahead and pick out the 7 books that we will be choosing from. All right, here we go. So first book will be, oops, can't even get this one open. Hex Education. So that looks like a nice little Halloween romance book. That one's by Maureen Kilmore. Then we have The Modern Girl's Guide to Magic by Lindsay Hall. That one sounds like a nice cozy one as well. So far, so good. Our third option is going to be The Witches of Moonshine Manor by Bianca Maris. Then we got, these are some good Halloween options here. Fourth book is Magic Bitter, Magic Sweet by Charlie N. Holmberg. Next up we have, oops, got two there. I'll put that one back. Hex Appeal by Kate Johnson, another Halloween romance book. All right, two more to go. Our sixth option is going to be Witches Get Stuff Done by Molly Harper, another romance. And last but not least is, I got two again. Oh, I dropped them both. This one. So this will be our seventh and last option, and it is going to be Magical Midlife Madness by K.F. Breen. Alright, so these are our 7 options. I feel like they are all good options, and I wouldn't be sad to have any of them. So let's go ahead and roll our dice and see how we are going to sort them first. Alright, so this is the roll to show us how we are going to sort the 7 books. So we got a 2. So we'll be sorting the books by page number. Alright, so here we have the books sorted from lowest page count to highest page count. They are all within the 300s, so no really long books, which is great. Most of the books are actually in the low 300s for page count, so any of those would be wonderful quick reads. So let's go ahead and roll the dice. Numbers 1 through 7 corresponds to each of these books, starting with 1, ending in 7. And 8 means it's a free choice, and I get to choose which book I'm going to read. So let's go ahead and see what our second book for this game is. An 8, which means I get to choose. I have no idea what half of these books are about, so let me do a little bit of research and I'll be right back and let you know which one I'm choosing. So after perusing over all my options, all 7 of them, I have narrowed it down to 1, and the book we are going to go with for this roll is Magic Bitter, Magic Sweet by Charlie N. Holmberg. The reason I ended up choosing this is it has to do with the magical ability to bake, and who doesn't love magical baking? It sounds like a nice cozy read, and I'm really hoping it is, because that is exactly what I need after the horror book I just read, after that interesting ending. So this book follows Marie, who is a magical baker who has the ability to infuse her baked goods with emotions and abilities. And she has no idea where she got this talent from, because she doesn't remember anything about her life before she ends up in the village that she's currently living in. It's all a blur to her. She has no idea who she is, where she's from, any of that. One day, these bad guys end up invading her village and she gets kidnapped. And the leader, I assume it's the leader of those who kidnapped her, has decided to use her for nefarious means, and she is ordered to bake confections that are sinister. And then during her time under captivity, a ghost starts visiting her, and the ghost is reluctant to tell her their connection, but the more time she spends with him, the more her past memories start to reemerge from her mind, I guess. And she begins to piece together who and what she really is, along with all the cosmic consequences that may occur with this knowledge. So we'll see. There's definitely some potential for some darkness to this book, but I'm hoping that the overall feeling is cozy. And it is also only 300 pages, so hopefully it won't take me too long to read so that we can move on to our third roll. We have at least 2 more rolls to go, and if I get big numbers, it would be just 2 more rolls to go. So we'll see how it goes. We have tomorrow and Sunday to finish the game as well, so we have plenty of time to get through this game board. So far, I'm definitely enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to reading this book and see how it goes. So I will be back when I get probably halfway through and update you on what I think of it. I'll see you guys soon. All right, we are on Saturday now. I didn't read too much since I last spoke to you and we chose our next book, Magic Bitter, Magic Sweet. I think I read about 7 pages last night, but today I've read a lot more and I am now 50% of the way through, and I'm actually really enjoying this book a lot more than I thought I would. I read one other Charlie N. Holmberg book before, and that was The Wimbrel House, And while I enjoyed it, it didn't really like captivate me as much. I felt it was a little bit slow and it was hard to be engaged in the plot. So I was a little apprehensive going into this one, but I'm definitely enjoying this one a lot more than I did the Wimbrow House, which I'm very happy about. So this book follows the main character, Marie, whose name is spelled Maire. So I'm not exactly sure if that's a right pronunciation. It's probably not, but that's what we're going to go with. And Marie is living in this village and has no memory of her past before she came to be in this village. So she doesn't know where she's from, who she is, and that's kind of bugged her since she arrived in this village. She does have these magical baking abilities though, and she's able to infuse magic into her baked goods, whether that be feelings or abilities. And that's something that has allowed her to open up a bakery in the village that she's currently living in. One day while she's working at this bakery, these marauders, which is what the author calls them, arrived in the village, and she ends up being kidnapped and taken away to another village where she is basically sold to this man named Alimas. And he, for some reason, recognizes her and knows that she has this ability in her to infuse magic into her baked goods. So Alimas is this kind of like brutish guy who the author describes as just being not put together right. And he is not the most intelligent guy either, but he almost wants to please and be like the best master that he can be. So he's always asking Marie, I'm the best master you ever had, and things like that. He also has this angry streak though. So Marie has to be careful not to defy him openly, or else she may end up, seeing that angry side of him. So those are two of the three main characters. The third one is this ethereal being named, I think it's Firel, who knows everything about Marie's past. He knows who she is, where she's from, what she is, but he cannot tell her, because if he does tell her and she denies it, then all is lost. What is lost? We don't really know, but we know all is lost if she finds out who she actually is. So while Marie appreciates Firel being around, it's also very frustrating for her because he won't answer any questions about her past. He won't tell her who she actually is. And that's kind of all that Marie ever wanted to know, obviously, because who wouldn't want to know their past if they forgot it? So here we are with these three characters. Alimas is dragging Marie to all these different places as people hire her to create these baked goods that are infused with magic. Firel is trying to encourage her to remember who she is without actually telling her. And we are just waiting for that mystery to be solved. And I assume at that point, the book will come to an end. So like I said, so far enjoying it. I originally thought this was going to be more of a cozy fantasy, but it's hard to say that it's cozy when the main character has been kidnapped and sold and is now working under a master, basically. So I'm not sure what subgenre this fantasy book is under, but definitely hard to say that it is a fully cozy fantasy. So I think that's it for now. I'm going to get back to reading. I think I'm about 50% through, so it shouldn't take me too much longer to finish the book because it was was right around 300 pages. So I have like probably 150 pages left to go. So hopefully just a couple of hours. Then I will come back and let you know my final thoughts on it. Right now I'm saying it's about a 4 out of 5, but we'll kind of have to see how this mystery ends up being resolved and if I enjoy the ending or not. And then after that, we will be going on to do our third roll of the game. So I will be back shortly with my final review of Magic Bitter, Magic Sweet. So I will see you guys soon. Alright, I did it. I finished Magic Bitter, Magic Sweet by Charlie N. Holmberg. It's only 2 or 3 hours since I last talked to you, so it didn't take me that long to complete the second half of the book. It was a pretty quick, pretty fast read. The plot was definitely very engaging, and I really wanted to know who Marie actually was, so that kept me reading to figure that out. There were some nice little twists at the end, though, that I was not expecting at all. Though looking back, you could kind of see where the author had laid the groundwork for those twists, but without knowing what the actual twist was, it would have been very hard to figure out, at least for me. Maybe other people can, I don't know. But I definitely enjoyed the story. I would definitely give it a 4 out of 5. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed how the relationship between all the different characters kind of changed throughout the book as different things happen. All the characters show some growth to it. There's a epilogue in the book as well, so the book definitely has a complete ending. There's no questions left at the end, which I enjoy, because I hate the books where it kind of leaves you wondering what actually happened to the characters. This is not one of those books, which is great. I think that's all I got for this book. Definitely worth a read if you like a little bit of cozy fantasy with a little bit of higher stakes, I guess you could say. All right, but now we gotta move on. We can't waste any more time. We gotta get through this board. So let's get to the board. Let's do our third roll. I'm hoping for some Dark Academia. It's been so long since I've read a Dark Academia book. This weather that's becoming nice and cool is definitely putting me in the mood. So let's cross our fingers. But let's bring up the game board and see what we get for our third roll. All right, we are on to our third roll of the game. And if luck is with us, this could potentially be the last book for Tales of Twilight, our reading challenge for this month. We shall see, though. What I am hoping for here, I think I said earlier, is a Dark Academia book. We haven't had one of those yet, and I'm kind of in the mood to read some Dark Academia. It's been a minute since I read one of those books, so that is what I'm hoping for. And we have a ton of chances. There are 4 of them that we could hit. So it's about a 50% chance that we'll hit Dark Academia. Now let's see how our luck holds out. All right, here we go. Third roll of the game. And we got a 2. All right, I was hoping for a higher number, but at least we did hit Dark Academia. There will be another book, though, because we are not going to hit the end on our next roll. So let's see what book we will be reading for our third book of this challenge. I'm excited. We've gotten one from each jar. So for Dark Academia, I put the books in our black jar, hence the word dark. So let's choose our 7 options from this jar. If I can open it. There we go. All right, we'll put the jar here. Let's see what we got. I'm excited for a lot of the books that are in here. We have Shadow of the Lions by Christopher Swan. Our second option is The Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake, which is the second book in her Atlas series. At least I hope it's the second, because that's the book I'm on. We have for our third option The Mary Shelley Club by Goldie Moldavsky. I don't know too much about that one. All right. Our fourth option is The Grimrose Girls, and this is by Laura Pohl. Another book I don't know too much about. All right, we got 3 more to go. Let's go with this one. We have Immortal Dark by Tejas Gurma, I think. It's hard to read that one. All right, 2 more. Our 6th option is going to be The Hawthorne School by Sylvie Perry. And then last but not least is this book here. All right, let's see what it is. We have The Betrayals by Bridget Collins. All right. So those are our 7 options. I know the most about the Atlas Paradox, having read the first book in that series, and I know that The Shadow of the Lions, I'm pretty sure, takes place at a boarding school. The rest of the books I don't know too much about, but it is going to be up to the roll of the dice with which one we are going to go with. So first, we got to see which order we are going to sort these books by. So we are going to go ahead and roll our 8-sided die. Again, if we land on 8, that means we actually get to skip this prompt and not read a book at all. So let's see what we get. And we got a 4. I think you can see that. All right, so a 4 means we are going to sort the books by their titles. Very easy to do, so let's do that. And then we will get to find out what book we are reading for our third book. All right, there we have it. We have sorted these books in alphabetical order. Now all that's left to do is roll the dice. Again, each book corresponds with one of the rolls on the dice. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then if we get an 8, then we get to choose what the book is. So here we go, moment of truth. And we got a 2, which means we'll be reading The Betrayals by Bridget Collins. So again, I love the cover. The cover is very pretty, but again, this is a book I don't know much about, so let me go look it up and then I will come back and let you know the plot of this book. All right, we did it. We landed on Dark Academia. We got our wish. Not too surprising since about 50% of the numbers would have us landing on Dark Academia. Of course, we got the smallest number or 2 that would do that, but that's okay. Hopefully our luck with bigger numbers will come back on our 4th roll. So the book that we ended up getting is one I'm not too familiar with. I just came across it when I was making a list for this game. And that book is The Betrayals by Bridget Collins. It was published back in 2020. It is definitely a little bit of a longer book. It's over 400 pages. I think like 419 pages. But at least it's not like 600, 700 pages. So definitely a doable read. All right, so I've read over the synopsis of this book. Let me see how well I can explain this one to you. So the book is set in this exclusive academy called Montvert, which is set in the mountains. Not surprising since the beginning of the academy's name starts with Mont. But it is where the best and the brightest go to participate in this contest known as Grand, this is like J-E-U, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Jow, maybe? Anyway, the main character is Leo Martin, who was once a student there, but then left after he lost his passion for competing in this contest after a violent tragedy occurred. But now he finds himself returning to his old academy after his political career is in tatters, and there he's found that the things at Montvert have changed. For one, a woman, Claire Dryden, now serves as the Grand Jow's highest office of Magister Ludi. There's a lot of names in here I'm not going to know how to pronounce. Anyway, when Leo first sees Claire, he senses this odd connection with her. He's not really sure why, because he hasn't ever seen her before in his life. But both Leo and Claire have built their lives on lies, so who knows what's going on there. And now, as the legendary Midsummer Game draws closer, there's whisperings in the walls of all these secrets that I guess need to come out. So there we have it, our Dark Academia book. Does that make any sense to you? I don't know. But apparently we are going to be visiting a exclusive academy where a arcane and mysterious contest known as the Grand Jow takes place. So we'll see how this goes. It gets about 3.5 stars on Goodreads, so we'll see what it's like. It's a fancy Dark Academia historical book, so it's the kind of book I seem to enjoy, so hopefully I'll enjoy this one too. So let me start reading. I will get back to you. It may not be until tomorrow because it's getting later in the day and I have some other things to do other than just reading. But hopefully by tomorrow morning, I will be at least halfway through this book and can talk to you about my thoughts on it. All right, so I'm going to go make dinner now, get my cat fed, give her her insulin shot, and then get to reading. So I will probably talk to you guys tomorrow. So I will see you soon. right, it's a new day and the new day is almost over, but I have made it 50% through the Betrayals, which is our Dark Academia pick, and I can say I've definitely been enjoying it. I love Dark Academia though, so it's not really that surprising. There's only been like a handful of books from the Dark Academia genre that I haven't really liked, such as The Catherine House. That was definitely one. So the atmosphere of this book definitely gives you the Dark Academia feelings to it, and I don't know what those feelings actually are or how to describe them, but it definitely gives you that Dark Academia vibe atmosphere in this story. So now you may be also wondering about the plot. This is definitely a character-driven book. The plot is a very slow-burning plot, and the characters are the ones that are keeping the story alive, basically. Before we get to the characters, though, we have to understand a little bit about the setting. So this book is set in the Montvere Academy in this alternative history where wherever this country is, a prime minister has taken over it and has made this game called the Grand Jiao, which is taught at this academy, kind of like the religion of this country. No other religion seem to really be talked about, and the Grand Jiao is the religion of the country. It's a game that is written on paper and has to do with music and art and science and math, and that's really all the description that you get. So I don't know if the author is leaving it up to the reader to kind of put their own spin on what this game could be, or if she'll kind of reveal a little bit more of it as the book goes on, because that so far is all I know about the Grand Jiao. I know it's written on paper and it has to do with music, art, science, math, and yeah, that's about it. And it's written in this like different language. So not too much information on that, but let's get to the characters now. So there are 3 characters whose viewpoint we have for the present time. The main character seems to be Leo, who is the ex-minister of culture for this party that has taken over this country. He got kind of exiled from the party due to him not agreeing with one of the policies. And they exiled him back to Montvere Academy, which he attended as a student many years ago, and ended up leaving before graduation after some sort of tragedy occurs. This character is a character that has so many flaws. It's definitely written as a character that you don't want to like. It's a well-written character, but one that you don't really sympathize with at all, just based on some of his remarks and some of the decisions that he makes. But very well written, a good character with definite flaws. So he is now back at Montvere Academy, and he kind of has to confront his past that caused him to leave. The second character this is told from is a character named Claire, who is the only female at the school. So this academy only accepts men. The Grand Jiao is only, I guess, supposedly taught to men, but Claire has learned it on her own. And to become a magister of the school, anyone can apply to it. And she ended up applying and getting the job. And now she's kind of facing some discrimination, things like that, for being the only woman at the school. Her and Leo end up meeting when he arrives at the school. Leo is sure that he has met her before, even though he hasn't. And you kind of see how the 2 characters are connected as the book goes on. The third character, whose viewpoint we have in the present, is called the Rat. I have no idea who this character is. She is a girl, I know that. And she seems to live in all these hidden spaces in the academy. No one knows that she's there. She survives by kind of stealing food, water, blankets, clothes, but she's very careful never to get caught. I assume by the end of the book, they let us know who this person is and how she came to be living at the school, hiding in the walls and all her secret passageways. But we'll find out when I get to the end. So along with these viewpoints, we also have flashbacks to the past when Leo was still a student at the school, and we kind of see how the situation unfolded, the tragedy unfolded that led to Leo leaving the school for good. And the author does this through diary entries that Leo wrote when he was a student at the school. So that's it. Did that make sense? I have no idea. It's a very convoluted kind of plot going on here, and there's a lot of bits and pieces to it. I'm hoping they all tie up well at the end. because that is one thing with Dark Academia books I don't always like, is the ending, because all the little parts and pieces don't always get all tied up in a nice little bow. But I still have 200 pages to go, so that's plenty of time for the author to complete this book in a nice, acceptable, for me, way, which would be to tie up all the loose ends. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not totally holding my breath. I wouldn't be surprised if there are some things that are left to the reader's imagination at the end. All right, so I think that's all I got for now. I am hopefully going to finish this book today, and then we will have one more roll. I'm hoping to get through the game board. I want to get this video up this Thursday or Friday. It's Sunday now, so I'm hoping I can complete the game board by then. Like I said, if we get one more roll, we can definitely get it done. We get more than that, it's going to be very, very tight. So we'll see. Wish me luck. I will get back to you once I finish this book with my final thoughts and then our fourth roll of the game. So I will see you soon. All right, I am back. It's been a couple days since I last talked to you guys because it took me a while to finish this book because there's a lot of things going on outside of my reading time. So I have finished the Betrayals, though. I finished it not too long ago and overall enjoyed it. I would say it kind of reminds me of the Catherine House as far as the writing goes. But while I did not enjoy the Catherine House, I did enjoy the Betrayals and ended up giving it a 4 out of 5. The characters whose viewpoint you are reading from as the plot unfolds had nice little changes throughout the book. The main character, Leo, was still a character that it was hard to like. But as the book progressed, he did have some more redeeming qualities, I guess, though he still did things that you're just like, why would you even think this is right, Leo? But he did show some signs of inner thinking on some decisions that he made later on in the book. The book ended with an interesting twist that I did not see coming at all. And in fact, I thought the initial twist was something else and then realized that wasn't it, which I'm being very vague, obviously, because it's a very important part of the book and I don't want to give it away. But I thought it was well incorporated into the plot. And the author definitely gave hints throughout the story that this twist was coming, but I definitely never saw it. And as far as the ending goes, I think the author did a good job with the ending. There's definitely some loose ends that weren't completely tied up, but the author gave you enough information that you could kind of make up your own mind about how you wanted the future of these characters' lives to turn out. So I didn't feel like I was being left hanging or anything like that with the end of the book. So that is The Betrayals. Again, a Dark Academia book. Goodreads gives it about a 3.6, I think, and I ended up giving it a 4 because I enjoyed the atmosphere and I enjoyed the plot of the story as well. So that's that. It's now time to go on to our next roll of the game, which will be our fourth roll. We're hoping for a big number, so it could also potentially be the last book that we read for this game. So let's bring up the game board and see what we get. All right, it is time to do our fourth roll of the game. I'm hoping I get a big number so that this will be the last book I have to read for the game because I really would like to edit this video tomorrow. And it's like 3:30 in the afternoon today. So we are hoping for a big number. I'm not sure if I really feel like a horror book at this point. I'm kind of hoping to land on either Dark Academia or on one of the Halloween-y books, because those are a lot shorter than the other two categories, most of them. So with that, I think I have like a 5 out of 8 chance of landing on one of those. We also got Free Space, which would also be fine with me. So let's go ahead and see what we get for our fourth roll. A 3. Not as big of a number as I was hoping for. So we got Dark Academia though, so here's our Dark Academia jar, and let's go ahead and choose the 7 possible books that we will be reading, hopefully shorter ones. All right, so our first option is The Truants. And it's too small. I'm not sure who that's by. All right, and we have Immortal Dark by Tidris Jerma. I'm just going to shake these up a little bit. All right, our third option will be this one, which is Special Topics in Calamity Physics, and it is by Marisha Pesse. Our fourth option will be, none of these books do I know much about. Oh, we got our fourth and our fifth option here. They both wanted to come out together. So our fourth option is A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. Then we have In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead as our fifth option. So we got two more to go. Our sixth option is going to be Madame by Phoebe Wine. Or Wynn. And last but not least, we got two there. We'll go with this one. All right, so our seventh option is, again, Shadow of the Lions by Christopher Swan. All right, now we have to see how we are going to sort these. Now, what would be great is if I roll an 8 here, we just get to skip this turn entirely. So we are going to hope for that. Everyone think 8. 5. All right, well, that's fine. We will be sorting the books by the author's first name. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. All right, so this is the order. We have Ashley, Christopher, Kate, Marisha, Phoebe, hi Jess, and Victoria. All right. So we will roll a 1 through an 8. If we land on an 8, that means it's a free choice and I can choose which of the books that I read. Otherwise, whichever number we roll will correspond to the number book. So here we go. Hoping for a short one, but these rolls are not going my way. So we'll see. 7. So that is A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. All right, let me go look it up and I will be back and let you know a little bit about what this book is about, because other than it being dark academia, not really sure. So I'll be back soon. All right, so we rolled a 3. 3 is not a big number. It did not get us very far down the board. There's definitely potential that we will be reading a 5th book in this game, which I was hoping to avoid because I, have 16 books on my October TBR I have to finish. But we'll see. We still have a chance to get through the game on one more roll. We'll just have to wait and see after we finish the book that the game has chosen for us, which is A Lesson in Vengeance, which was written by Victoria Lee, published in 2021, and is a dark academia book set in the mountains, which I feel like most of the dark academia books are. So this book follows the main character Felicity, who has just spent a year away from the school after the tragic death of her girlfriend and has just returned to the school so that she can graduate from it. She ends up in the same room that she has lived in all her years at the academy, and that room happens to be in Godwin House, which at the academy is famous because of the 5 girls who died there in the past, one right after another, and whose spirits are believed to haunt Godwin House. It was also believed that they practiced witchcraft, and witchcraft is ingrained in the history of Dalloway Academy. Now, before Felicity's girlfriend died, she was very much into the dark arts, into witchcraft, but on return to the school, she kind of wants to throw that all behind her and just focus on graduation. That is until she meets the new girl on campus, Ellis, and Ellis ends up asking Felicity to help her research the 5 Godwin School girls that had died in the past. And Felicity, in the end, agrees to help her, and as they are learning about the history begins to repeat itself, and now Felicity has to face the darkness in Dalloway and in herself. So sounds like a good dark academia Halloween book. So I'm excited to read this. I'm excited I got it. It's on the shorter, well, it's not on the shorter side, but at least it's less than 400 pages. It's like 370. So I'm hoping I can finish this book today because I want to get to the last roll today so I can edit all of this tomorrow because I'm running out of time. We're getting very close to the end of October and I want to get this up before my November TBR game. So I'm going to get to reading and focus the rest of my afternoon, evening on reading in hopes I can complete this book today and we can get the final roll in, which at least I'm hoping is the final roll. I know I keep saying that and I'm probably going to jinx it, but we'll see. So I will be back. I may come back when I finish the book. I may do a check-in halfway through. I'll just have to see what's going on at that time. So I will see you guys shortly, either with an update or hopefully maybe even with the book being completely read. So I'll see you guys soon. All right, I am back. We are now on the next day. It's early afternoon, and I just completed a lesson in Vengeance. And overall, I did enjoy the story, but it wasn't one of my favorites that I've read so far during this reading challenge. The plot was just a little bit slow for me, especially in the first, I would say, 3/4 of the book. It did pick up at the end, but because of that, I'm giving it about 3.75 out of 5 stars. So again, this book follows Felicity. It's told from her point of view, and we are learning a couple of things about her as the book goes through. First is her interest in the 5 Dalloway? Yes, the 5 Dalloway girls who ended up dying a long time ago, thought to be from witchcraft. And Felicity's now attending the same school, the Godwin School, and she's become almost obsessed by what happened to these girls and about witchcraft and things like that. So Felicity just recently returned to the school. A year ago, her girlfriend Alex ended up dying, and she took a year off from school before returning now to graduate. So this whole book is told from her viewpoint and kind of goes over both her interest again in witchcraft, but also how she has been coping and managing the death of her girlfriend and how she is kind of letting that affect her life is the other main focus of the book. The second main character in the book is Ellis, who is brand new to the school. She was homeschooled before, and she is coming to the school. I think it's her last year of high school as well. And she becomes close friends with Felicity and actually enlists Felicity's help to research the 5 Dalloway girls who, again, died a long time ago as a... She basically wants to write a book about it. So she needs to learn what happened, and she wants to kind of solve whether it was truly witchcraft that killed these girls or if there's another explanation. So it definitely falls in the dark academia category. It also falls kind of in the psychological thriller / horror category as well. And overall, it does give you kind of the dark academia vibes within that boarding school itself. So like I said, the plot was just a little bit slow for me. I think it would have sped up a little bit if there was more focus on the 5 Dalloway girls as the author got to kind of the high point of the plot. I think that may have been a little bit more interesting, while she also included kind of the things that were going on, if that makes sense. I don't know. Maybe if you read the book, it will. So that is our 4th book of the game. We have completed that now, so we have to go do our next roll on the board, which will hopefully be our last roll. So we're going to be thinking of big numbers when we roll the dice. So let's bring up the game board and see what we get for our 5th roll. All right, we are back to the game board and hopefully on to our last roll of the game. We need at least a 6 to hit the finish, so 6, 7, or 8 would do it. If we land on the free space, one of those options is to move forward 1 space, which would also do it. So we're going to hope for a 6, 7, and 8, though, because otherwise we're leaving things up to chance. So let's see what we get for our 5th roll of the game. All right. We got an 8. we have completed the Tales of Twilight reading challenge. All right, we did it. We got an 8, which means we have completed the game Tales of Twilight. I really enjoyed playing this game. It was a perfect game to play in October because it gave me a chance to read a lot of books that fit into the October horror scary vibe. We got our Within the Walls, which was our horror book. We got Magic Bitter, Magic Sweet as kind of like the cozy fantasy Halloween witches book, magic book. I guess there wasn't really witches. And then we got our 2 Dark Academia books, which were A Lesson in Vengeance, and I'm blanking on the other book. Oh, and The Betrayals. And 3 out of the 4 books were 4 out of 5 stars for me. The other one was 3.75 out of 5 stars. So overall, not too bad of a reading challenge. I definitely want to play this again. I'm thinking about maybe in the early springtime before the warmer weather hits, just kind of as a last hurrah as the winter months are leaving us. So definitely be prepared for this game to come back around within the next year. So my next video coming out on this channel will be my November TBR because we are a little over a week away from November. So I'm excited to play that and to see how many books end up on my TBR. Hopefully we'll have a luckier month than we did in October and not have 16 books to read in November. We'll see. And then the November reading challenge we will be doing is going to be a cozy reading game challenge where we'll be reading cozy fantasy, cozy mystery, cozy romance, just to bring in the fall vibes as we start to meander into winter slowly because it was 70 degrees yesterday, but eventually winter will come. All right, that's all I got for today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed playing it. If you've read any of these books, please let me know in the comments below, or if you decide to pick up any of these. And if you enjoyed this video again, please hit the like button. If you want to see future reading games from me, please hit the subscribe button. Again, thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!